will hot admit you the animal. TF32 is here, back for round 10 here for the Dutch TT at Cadwell Park. As we last left off, we had a very successful day in the office, picking up 20 points between myself and Nakano. 2 top 5s in a row for Nakano. However, some successes don't come without their problems, because as you can see, as good as his results were, he's still sitting in 19th because everyone that was directly ahead of him in the standings finished ahead of him in the race. So unfortunately, it doesn't translate well. He shouldn't have much to worry about though, because it's a very close fight just to get into the top 15, so all he has to do is continue doing what he's doing, and he should eventually climb up the board. Because of that great result, we finished 3rd overall in the points, so we are now 3rd in the team standings. However, should we have to worry about 2 new teams rising up? That is for you and I to figure out and decide for ourselves as we enter this weekend. We're going to Cadwell Park because unfortunately we do not have Asset. Kind of a shame really, because it is the self-proclaimed motorbike capital of the world. Now, I will admit, this video did take 2 takes. So I'm leaving the power on full because this is by far one of the strongest tracks in the game for the AI. So going into qualifying, so we may have to worry about Kenny Roberts in future rounds because he's now on the fastest bike, being the BMW. And so Marco Melandri, he was an early pace setter. He continues to hold that right now. Colin Edwards, can he have a better result? He was up in 2nd, he's now in 4th. Makoto Tamada, could he become a problem after the disastrous Catalan Grand Prix last time out? Casey Stoner as well. So Roberts putting that BMW to good use now, up into 2nd. And let me tell you, it ain't often that 2 Hondas do not occupy the top 2 spots. Loris Capirossi up there. Oh, never mind. Danny Pedrosa takes it over, so he's up into 2nd. He needs to redeem himself after the disastrous round. Yeah, I'm probably never going to do CTMP again, but I just figured I'd give it a shot, and unfortunately the results are the results, so we have to live with that. Gibernau now sliding to 2nd, but Capirossi still holding that top spot. In 2 races' time, he will be receiving an upgrade, as well as Troy Bayliss, so Ducati might be a mild threat down the road as well. Although this is the halfway mark, and they might only be able to catch up so much, as Barros, he responds immediately with a 126. It's the first sub 127, and he is now top dog. Colin Edwards up into 3rd. 2 and 3, they're names that aren't regularly threats at the front, but could they be threats today? We're going to have to wait and find out. So, going into the halfway mark, we do have a pretty good idea of where everyone's at, minus some exceptions like Kenny Roberts. Of course, Nakano got the upgrade in the recent rounds, so he should be slowly but surely climbing up the board. But there's a chance I may do a mid-season video just showing where everyone's at and basically reviewing them, giving them a grade, and sort of giving a prediction as to where I see them finishing this first season. And there will be a 2nd season as well with some rider upgrades. So as we see here, not much else has changed. We have a Japan 9, 10, 11 with Tamada, Nakano, and Ukawa. Very nice to see Ukawa back up here again. And I'm hoping this pep talk I gave him before the Mugello Grand Prix, I'm hoping he did actually take that to heart and continues to do well, because I would love to see him see out the rest of the season with us, and so OJ doesn't have to take over his spot. But as far as I'm concerned, this is the top. This is what we have for our qualifying. But anyway, I did this a 2nd time because I just wasn't happy with the results of qualifying and wanted to see some better results for some other more favorable people. But enough of that. I'll see y'all on Sunday.
Are you ready, Boots?
Hello everyone, welcome to the TF32 commentary box. We are here live from Assen, just about 30 minutes up the road from Amsterdam in the Netherlands. And we are there for the commentary, and we are going to Cadwell Park for the actual race. Alex Barros on pole, alongside Loris Capirossi and Colin Edwards. Great from him. Row 2, Sete Gibernau, Danny Pedrosa, and Marco Melandri. 3 Hondas on Row 2. Row 3, Kenny Roberts, Casey Stoner, Makoto Tamada. Can he improve from the last round? Row 4, Shinji Nakano. Great to see him up there. Toru Ukawa and John Hopkins. Row 5, Troy Bayliss, Nicky Hayden, and Carlos Checa. Row 6, Christopher Mullen, Tony Elias, and Max Biaggi. And at the back, very disappointing from Valentino Rossi, alongside the usual suspect at the back that always tends to make his way up there. But going into the race, going to give you guys a little bit of a disclaimer. The beginning of this race, it's going to be first person, only up until like the first half of the first lap is over. We are doing a hard front tire and a medium rear tire. And as we saw before with the settings, we're leaving those exactly the same because the AI can really put up a huge fight here. But Alex Barros on pole position. He is our closest rival to the championship. And those lights are out and we're off. Max Biaggi gets a very poor getaway, and so some other guys. Very skinny track here, so overtaking without making contact is a huge demand by itself. But we capitalize on all that, and we're up to P8 as we find ourselves behind Danny Pedrosa. Casey Stoner, we still need to see what he's able to do because he's just been very unlucky. Shinji Nakano out of nowhere, where did he come from? And I mean, if he has this kind of pace, I'm honestly not opposed to actually sticking behind him and seeing what he's able to do, as we have Gibernau and Roberts on that upgrade. The upgrade that was just given to him last round. And this is usually an area where a lot of overtaking can take place. And a little note about this chicane area here. I decided to use the chicane variant of this track because if I don't have the chicane there, for whatever reason, the AI love to just crash in that area. And now we're in TV mode. And we focus now on the front. Barros already making a getaway. And can we take a second to actually admire these sensible TV shots from the, as opposed to the last few rounds? But Barros already maybe about a second ahead as we focus now on 2 guys that are never at the front, Colin Edwards and Loris Capirossi. So Barros heads the front, Edwards, Capirossi, and Gibernau. He's actually going to be getting a new livery in the next round. But, I mean, all this is a number change, but the number will more resemble that of what kind of number he sported earlier on. And Max Biaggi, I don't know what the hell that start was from him, but he's just not doing well. As we now look at the Brazilian, Alex Barros from Brazil. And he's having no problem at all getting away. So we have Edwards, Capirossi, we have Roberts in 8th position. We are just behind him in 9th. And as I said before, overtaking the AI here is very tough, especially on this inferior bike that we're on. As we hop along board, yours truly just behind the 2000 world champion. And that's a corner you never want to cut. You'll end up getting a time penalty of probably a quarter of a second. And it's also very easy to get the bike unsettled here. What I usually like to do is not be on full throttle. Unfortunately, that invites people like Toru Ukawa in that case. Actually, no, it was Pedrosa that was trying to get through. And is that Valentino Rossi just behind? It is! Making an incredible start from 19th on the grid. I mean, I always have incredible starts, but to see an AI have an insane start like that, it isn't overly common. So Barros, not much entertaining with him. He is pretty much checked out of this race. And the closest battle we now have is with Capirossi on the Aprilia-powered Ducati, and with Colin Edwards, the 2-time Superbike World Champion. Hopping along board, Capirossi. He has 1 podium so far this season. That was at Istanbul Park. Can he get another podium here? And with some possible upgrades on the way, wouldn't exactly hurt his motivation to try and get Ducati's second podium of the season. Bayless, I mean, he's been consistent, but he's been in the back of the point scoring positions. I think he's scored points in every single race so far, but it isn't amazing. He's like in the low double digits of points, as we do have a regular front runner just behind Capirossi in the form of Marco Melandri, the 2002 250cc world champion. And who's in 5th place? That's Casey Stoner. And yeah, these are really good shots. I mean, Ride 5 has horrible shots, but Cadwell Park, they have really good shots in this kind of footage. And we're actually looking on the inside of Melandri's teammate Sete Gibernau. Do we get the overtake? We do, but is Gibernau going to be able to overtake us? Yeah, I think he's able to do that. Temporarily at least, but of course we have the edge on braking against the AI. And now we're just behind our teammate Shinny Nakano, and it's a 7-8 for us, as it stands at the moment. So as we regain our focus on Alex Barros, I'd like to mention that in the season where that livery is based off of, 2005, he only got one victory, and it was in front of home fans of his at Estoril. And unfortunately, the Brazilian Grand Prix was cancelled in 2005, and that got transformed into that Summer Olympic Park, which I'm not sure what the use is on that, but they had to fly all the way from Brazil to Portugal because, of course, the Portuguese ties with Brazil, so it all makes perfect sense. But another person we need to up-talk right now is Colin Edwards, who has had a horrific season so far. I think he's like 19th or 18th in the standings right now. But we see him close in on Barros. He ends up going a little wide in the Hall curves right there. And I believe that last low-speed turn there, just before that one, is called hairpin. That's it. Hairpin. Fortunately, Barros should have the upper side in top speed, so Edwards, unfortunately, is not able to close in. And also, I know it's been ages. I recorded this footage 2 months ago. So, be prepared for a double header in the next video. We'll get to that soon enough. With our next round being at Sachsenring, and I believe the next round after that is at Czechia, but I'll touch upon that at the end of this video. There is one more weird thing I'd like to touch upon that happened in this race, and there is a misidentification of rank placement, as we will get to later. But what we will have is a rider who is in the thick of it, but he's ranked in last place in the game. I have actually edited the final race ranks to correct where he should have been. As we now see Colin Edwards, he's closer than ever to the Brazilian. And this is a place where some guys can really close in, but if you're the player, you're probably the most prone to crash. Barros going wide again. And this actually allows Colin Edwards to temporarily fight for the lead. And he actually takes the lead. And coming out of this last quarter, for the first time ever, the Texas Tornado, since France, will have led a Grand Prix. And we hop back on with the Brazilian Alex Barros. Is he able to overtake him? No. Generally, this is a very bad place to overtake, because if you get it wrong, that's your race over. Very skinny. I'd say this is sort of like the Hungaroring of the tracks on this calendar, because it's very skinny. It's sort of like Monaco without the barriers, and it's just grass everywhere. And Barros really closing in on Edwards as we speak. Edwards going wide, and that allows Barros to retake the lead for the moment. And thanks to that little battle they had, that allowed Capirossi and co. to really close in. Melandri still hanging in there in 4th. He has one win so far. That was at Suzuka at the beginning of the season. And since got another podium, and that was at one of 2 chaotic races that will probably never happen on this channel again, and that is at CTMP. And these top 6 guys have a little bit of a breakaway. So top 6 are as follows: Barros, Edwards, Capirossi third, Melandri fourth, Casey Stoner, and Kenny Roberts. And now we're hopping on to this battle. It's for 7th position, and I really want us to continue scoring these fantastic points, so I am very content to just stay behind Nakano and make this a team effort, and I don't want him to be prone to losing more positions down the road. And who do we have behind? Is it Hayden or Pedrosa? I forget who it is. I believe from the helmet it is Pedrosa, and accompanied by Toru Ukawa. He also has a win this season. That was at Istanbul Park. But do we even need it? Because Nakano is actually breaking away on that upgraded Kawasaki. And you didn't see it, but on the straights, Pedrosa and Ukawa absolutely destroyed me because I'm on that inferior bike. But we have to fight on the brakes. And look at this. Loris Capirossi actually overtakes the Texas Tornado for seconds. And this would be a joint best result of the season for not just him, but for the team as well. And I guess they were still battling just that excessive amount. Stoner, he's actually looking to overtake Melandri, is he? But these 6 guys, they are at the advantage. As we go into Hall Bends, it's a series of 4 turns just before hairpin right here. And this is where, by default, the competitors get really, really close. And can Capirossi pick up some slipstream on Barros and try to chase after him? He's also a former 250 world champion. He spent the beginning of his time 2 years in the 500s, then went down to 250s for, I think, three or four more seasons, and then went back to 2000s. In 2000, went to the 500s. As we hop back to us, Ukawa is back into a battle with us. We've had battles with him before, particularly at Le Mans. He gets ahead of me, and will I be able to get ahead of him once more? No! Am I able to capitalize on the exit? Not quite. He has that faster bike, but I want to get in front of him as soon as possible so that he doesn't catch up to my teammate. And I mean, Nakano, I don't think he is typically the strongest at maintaining pace, so I really want to close in to Nakano and keep our 7-8 placement secure. And now, Melandri is right on the back of Colin Edwards, as is Stoner on the back of him. So, could it become just a multiple-way battle for second? Because Barros just really looks to have the advantage. And now Edwards, just as I'm speaking about how bad he's doing, he closes right back in on Capirossi, the Capirex. Another nickname that he had back in the day. I didn't say another one. I'm sure he had many nicknames, honestly, but that's the one that I see on the back of his suits, like especially in the MotoGP games. But yeah, what a battle going on for second position, and also a singular battle that's been going on for a while between Stoner and Melandri. And we hop on board with yours truly. We still sit in 8th or 9th because we're having this battle with Ukawa. It's like Le Mans all over again, except we have another guy there in the form of Pedrosa. And he's trying to pick up the ashes of where Repsol Honda were at the beginning of the season. They are part of that dominant form that Honda had, and they sort of have reliability still. Last round was the exception because of how horrible the AI are around there. And Tom97, he did a video just last year in an alternate Canadian Grand Prix with Formula 1 cars, and there were only 6 finishers in that race on Assetto Corsa. So no different at all with the Ride 5 AI, just a ton of crashing. So maybe the course in general sucks. Who knows? So now the gap is about a solid second to Barros, and he's able to just control that pace. Is Capirossi able to follow him? We'll have to wait and see. And I forgot to mention, I think there's more laps in this race than any other race so far. Oh, also, I didn't mention this. Roberts just overtook Stoner for 5th on that FedEx bike. And this is like our first glimpse into seeing what he's able to do on that BMW-powered Roberts machine. And we actually have been able to work out a little bit of a buffer in between ourselves and Ukawa. Tamada, another consistent competitor in the season, he's down in P11. He's the only person to have multiple victories so far this season. And the person that has not had a victory so far is our current leader, Alex Barros. And John Hopkins, Christopher Mullen, this is what I'm talking about right now. It says P20 at the top, but I don't know exactly where he is at the moment. He is not in 20th. I believe he's in the points as we speak, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. It says 20th, and in the final standings on the game, it showed him in 20th. But as you see, I'm hopping between all these bikes because I'm trying to figure out just what the hell's going on. I wasn't expecting this. I haven't experienced this at any other track. In fact, I had to make a notepad document just so I could put in the graphics for the finishing results of this race, where everybody is, in respect to that and some other chaos you're about to see. Ukawa overtaking us again. This battle is just still going on, isn't it? And Pedrosa now temporarily getting in front. I'm trying to defend against, is it a trio, soon to be a quartet of Hondas. Ukawa out of nowhere finds space that simply isn't there to try and overtake me. But I am fighting tooth and nail. I force him wide. Pedrosa now on the inside of Ukawa. And yes, it's a 4-horse battle, and we allow, I think that's Vermeulen, and I believe he's in P12 as it stands at the moment. Yeah, the yellow helmet, that's Vermeulen. John Hopkins having a Red Bull helmet. And yeah, this is just crazy. And I'm very happy that I was able to record all of this, because it was a pain. Like, I spent probably a good 3 hours trying to gather all the info. Well, just getting the race footage, doing the replay, and actually doing the customized final standings. The final race standings. So now Melandri's back behind Colin Edwards, and is he going to overtake him here, as we see Caparossi there. Edwards getting on the grass. Melandri going a little loose, though, so Edwards will be able to come back. But there's another American right behind the Texan. It's the Californian, the Northern Californian of Kenny Roberts. So a Honda, a Yamaha, and a KR211V all in this battle for 3rd position. So Edwards is just getting relegated. And I said before, this bike that Roberts has, this massive deal with FedEx and BMW, it's the fastest bike in this category in the game. So there has been further battling behind me. We're hopping all over the place, but this battling between 3 other Hondas and Christopher Mullen has allowed me to get a little bit of a breakaway. And we haven't really needed that cushion for Nakano, because he's been able to manage just fine on his own. But someone that's lost touch of this battle for 2nd is Casey Stoner. But the other 4 guys are right there. Look at that gap. It's about 2.5 seconds right now to Barros. And now Melandri is behind Caparossi. Nakano goes a little wide in the Hall Bends. That allows myself and Co to close on him a bit. Valentino Rossi not doing well. He's in P13. And I'm scrolling through the riders again, just showing we're not able to go to Vermeulen. I want to get to Vermeulen and Biaggi. Very similar to what happened at Istanbul Park. He just doesn't have pace. And I'm just figuring out now that he is in P12. And it's just not saying it on here. Carlos Checa, though, he gets really wide, and that's going to allow the Kentucky kid to try and get him for P17. But this is like wooden spoon territory, isn't it? And as far as the most modern bikes go, the Suzuki is actually the slowest bike in the category, with the exception of the 2007 bike that I'm on. Vermeulen's on the 2020 spec bike. And Melandri sorry to cut myself off again, he just got ahead of Capirossi, and he's now up into P2. Edwards now trying to battle against Capirossi. And does he pass him around the outside? No, he doesn't. Capirossi hang on to P3 for as long as he can, but you basically almost need a telescope to see the Brazilian, who has had experience in Premier Racing, I believe, since 1986 on the 80cc bikes. We are now coming up on some 3 laps to go, trying to defend Nakano against fellow countryman Toru Ukawa, and it really is a throwback to Le Mans, isn't it? We are just getting our fingers and hands dirty here. We get a little bit crazy right there. We force him outside because we're trying to gain balance of our bike, and that's Ukawa out of this race. Very controversial. We're going to have to see if Racing Direction decides to do something about that at the end of the race. But we still have a good amount of competition behind us with Gibber now. I believe Pedrosa and Tamada are still there. Yes, they are. But we have a 7-8 for Kawasaki at the moment. But again, that could change. What will be done? You and I are going to be finding out at a very similar time. And it might actually be 2 laps left. We'll see. So, Melandri in second still. Barrow's a country mile away. Capirossi third. Is Roberts in 4th? No. Edwards is still in 4th. But this is an area where a lot can go wrong. Stoner all by himself in P6. Still doing better than Tamada. It's not that first podium of the season for him, but it is points. It's better than Tamada has been, and it's one of the few instances where, if it finishes as it is right now, he'll be finishing ahead of Tamada, as we see Capirossi going very loose there, and that may give an invitation for Edwards to come through. But it doesn't happen. But this is one of those tracks that, because of how skinny it is, it makes it look like you're going so much faster. Like, if you're driving at like 60 miles an hour through airport roads that the airplanes use, it's the same exact feeling. But has Edwards lost pace all of a sudden? I feel like he's just lost some confidence overall in the bike. And now he's still in 4th, and he has a crash. I don't believe it. He's thrown away a first podium of the season, and because the part where he got back on his bike is unrealistic, I believe I end up adding 10 seconds to his final time. Barrow's getting a little loose there, but the important thing is he gets back on this bike. And first time since 2005, getting a victory for Camel Honda Pod, second of the season. First battle for him. Melandri getting second, Capirossi getting another fantastic podium for Ducati. And we finished 8th on the road. But again, we might have a post-race penalty coming our way, and we'll have to see what Racing Direction does about that. And we get word that they're actually going to be supplying us with a 5-second penalty. So Barros wins, Melandri and Capirossi following. Roberts, amazing result from him on the BMW Roberts machine. Stoner 5th, joint best result for him of the season. Nakano, we help him out and get P6 because of Edwards' crash. Gibber now, Pedrosa 7 and 8, Tamada 9th, Edwards. Because of that, he actually finishes ahead of us on rule. I have revised his final finishing time to reflect some realism. So 10-11, Edwards, myself, then Vermeulen, Rossi, Bayless, and Elias is the final points finisher. Hopkins, Checa, Hayden, and Biaggi all out of the points. Toru Ukawa DNF'd because of that really silly and ridiculous decision I made to sort of overtake, and it led me to going wide. But here are the standings as they are halfway through the season. Because of that penalty, Barros takes the lead of the championship by 6 points. And even with that amazing finish, Nakano is still down at P18. But it's still anyone's game, like all the way up to 13th. same exact thing as last time. The people directly ahead in the standings finished ahead of him in the race. It's just very unfortunate circumstances for him. But regardless of where he finishes, he still has a contract for next season. And also because of that penalty, we lose out on P3 in the team standings. So, very unfortunate. But going on the team standings, I thought for a while it was us versus Suzuki and Max Biaggi. But is this more or less becoming a battle between us and LCR Honda? I think it's more or less becoming that. And we are halfway through the season, and another heads up, next round is going to be a double header just so I can catch up on some content. But I'm going to be having the lengths of the races. So next up, it would be Sachsenring. We are going to Sonoma and provide some very good racing from the testing I've done. Brno is TBD at the moment, but you'll see it when we get there. So I'll see you at Sachsenring. Take care.